All right, get ready, because late 2025 is shaping up to be a huge turning point for developers. We're talking about a massive wave of coordinated updates, with Angular 21, .NET 10, and SQL Server 2025 all landing with major interconnected changes. In this explainer, we're going to break it all down for you. You know, this quote from front-end dev Antonio Cardenas just absolutely hits the nail on the head. We're not just talking about a few new features here. No, this is a fundamental shift in how all these tools work together, and it's really setting the stage for the next decade of software development.
And that's exactly why we're calling this whole thing the Great Refactor. It's this deliberate, cross-platform effort to finally shed years of technical debt and complexity, all while retooling for a much, much smarter AI-driven future.
And you know, the biggest theme tying all of this together, it's the deep, deep integration of artificial intelligence. Your tools aren't just passive instruments anymore. They're becoming active partners in the development process, and it's starting right down at the database level. So at the heart of this whole AI revolution is this concept called vector search. The absolute best way to think about it is that it transforms your database from, say, a simple file clerk who can only find exact keyword matches into a full-blown research librarian who actually understands the meaning and the context of your data. Now, this is where it gets really cool. This slide shows how SQL Server 2025 actually puts that librarian to work. The process is called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG for short, and it's baked right in. First, AI models turn your data into these numerical vectors. Then, when you ask a question, the database finds other vectors that are conceptually similar. And finally, it feeds all that relevant data to a large language model to give you a genuinely intelligent, context-aware answer. In this slide, this is the payoff. It shows you the real, practical difference. We're moving away from asking, show me database backups, and just hoping for an exact text match, to asking something way more human, like, how do I protect my data? And getting a conceptually relevant answer. It's a total game changer for how we interact with our information. All right, but to make room for all this shiny new AI stuff, there's another side to the Great Refactor, and that's shedding a ton of old baggage, cleaning up patterns and tools that have been around for years and years. So in the Angular world, that means we're saying goodbye to some really familiar faces. I mean, for the longest time, things like Karma, Zone.js, and ng modules were the absolute bedrock of any Angular app, right? But let's be honest, they also brought a lot of boilerplate, a lot of complexity, and some real performance overhead with them. Well, they're being replaced by a new, much leaner guard. Vitest is the new default for testing. Apps are becoming zoneless, which gets rid of a ton of change detection overhead for a huge performance boost. And standalone components are now the default way to build. What does this all mean for you? It means Angular feels much lighter, faster, and way more in line with other modern frameworks like Svelte or Solid. And hey, SQL Server is doing its own spring cleaning too. Take a look at this list. Several major features like data quality services, master data services, and Synapse LINQ are being completely discontinued. The key takeaway here, folks, is if your organization relies on any of these, you need to start planning your migration strategy like yesterday. Okay, so with any big refactor like this, you know there are going to be some bumps in the road. There are a few critical breaking changes across the board that you absolutely have to know about before you even think about upgrading. All right, all you Angular devs, I see you. You're ready to just type ng update, right? Hold on. Before you hit that enter key, let's just run through a quick checklist to make sure you don't end up with a completely busted build. First things first, back everything up. No, seriously, commit everything to source control. Then, update your global and local CLI packages. Now, the biggest headache for most people, it's going to be in step 4, your tests. The move from Karma to Vitest is a big one, and while the Angular team gives you a migration tool to help, be prepared to get your hands dirty, especially if you have any custom test setups. And for you folks in the .NET and SQL Server camp, there is one change that is going to trip so many people up. The old system.data.sql client is gone, and the new provider defaults every single connection to encrypt equals true. That means any unencrypted connections are just going to be rejected flat out. The bottom line is this: your old connection strings in PowerShell scripts, SSI packages, and old apps are going to break unless you update them. You've been warned. But hey, once you get through all that, once you navigate those upgrade hurdles, that's when you get the payoff. And the reward is a massively improved developer experience across the board, designed to help you write better, more modern code way, way faster. Okay, let's talk Angular forms.
For years, managing form state meant you were wrestling with this spaghetti of RxJS pipes and operators. It could be a real nightmare to debug. Well, check this out. The new experimental signal forms just get rid of all that. You go from all that complexity to a clean, declarative, and fully type-safe way to define your forms. No RxJS mastery required.
And we're seeing that same kind of amazing simplification over in data access. Remember writing a LeftJoin in LINQ? It was this weird multi-line ceremony with group join and select many. It worked, but it was just odd. Now, in Entity Framework Core 10, you just call .LeftJoin. That's it. It's clean, it's obvious, and it means you can spend less time fighting the ORM and more time writing your actual business logic.
And this right here, this is the perfect illustration of how the whole ecosystem is finally working together in harmony. SQL Server 2025 introduces a brand new, super fast binary JSON data type. And what happens? Bam! Day one, EF Core 10 is ready to use it. It can map to it, query it, and update it directly. This just removes entire layers of manual serialization code we used to have to write.
So look, this huge, coordinated, great refactor isn't just about tidying up the past. It's about unlocking a way more powerful, way more intuitive future for all of us. The tools are getting smarter, the boilerplate is disappearing, and the whole stack just feels more cohesive. So the only real question left is, what are you going to build with all this new power?